Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing you another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at McFarlane's DC Direct Batman The Adventures Continue, Batman version 2. This is the cel-shaded version. DC Direct is back, baby. McFarlane has resurrected them from the ashes, and they're releasing all the previously revealed but never released figures. About 2 years ago, DC Direct died, and there were a lot of figures from both DC Essentials and Batman the Animated Series that never made it out. McFarlane's releasing those. Hopefully, they'll release the next wave of animated stuff as well. That has not been confirmed, but I sure expect it to happen. So let's go ahead and check out the packaging. As you can see in the background, Batman, the animated version with the orange background, 10 pieces. Batman version 2, cel-shaded, from Batman The Adventures Continue. That's the comic canon continuation of the animated series. Here he is in the packaging. Ton of accessories, a bunch of hands. This is the 59th figure in the line. On the back, orange, Batman animated look. And here's his barcode. I pre-ordered this figure from Amazon.com. I believe it's also in stock at GameStop. So no further ado, let's open him up. And of course, I did get 2 of these figures. One of which to open and enjoy, and the other one to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related 6 and 7-inch unopened action figure collection. Here's a look at my complete DC Direct Batman the Animated Series collection unopened. Happy to continue the line and add these new figures to the collection. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He does come with 7 alternate hands, totaling 9 interchangeable hands. Also his grappling hook and batarang. This is essentially a re-release of the new Batman Adventures figure they released. I believe it was in the first series of DC Direct animated figures. He's just cel-shaded. He appears to have the exact same articulation type, the same mold. I'm really hoping that plastic is a little bit more durable. I don't know about you guys out there, but that figure, his ankle broke pretty quickly after I got him. I personally prefer the non-cel-shaded figures, but I'm really happy to get an updated version of this guy. So let's take a look at him. As you can see, he's got that very distinct animated look from the new Batman Adventures. Square jaw, just absolutely giant. Ears, it looks similar to Batman Animated Series, but different. You got the bat symbol, no oval. You got his cape, got cel shading on the tips there. This side's a little bit lower than that side. I'm guessing it's the same mold from the first one, because I believe he was the same way. The very exaggerated proportions, the giant puffed out chest, arms, very thin legs, single jointed knees, single jointed elbows, very, very, very small feet. This guy is quite top heavy. He wants to fall back because of this cape. Cape moves pretty nicely. Standard looking utility belt. I mean, the figure looks good. Very reminiscent of the art from the cartoon. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. Very square jaw, a lot of straight lines, very stylized like the cartoon. So let's talk about this guy's ankles. They're kind of tight right now. It is kind of hard to stand this guy up. The feet are really small. The ankles were very brittle in the first figure. Broke very quickly after I got him. I mean, not right away, but within the first couple weeks. I'm already having a little bit of trouble standing this guy up. You kind of been leaning forward because of his top heavy, the cape, and these ankles are just so small. They're tight right now, but will last. Only time will tell. My last one got loose pretty quickly. I want to complain about his cape as well. I really don't understand the decision to make his side on the right lower than the side on the left. It makes a figure just look like he's crooked or not standing straight. I always want to sort of twist the cape around and sort of fix that, but it just doesn't really work out that way. Then it's going to be crooked in the back. I just think that's a very, very, very odd and unpleasant choice. And while we're on the subject of complaining about this figure, I always thought it was crazy that DC Direct decided to make the 6-inch scale and not 7-inch scale like the rest of all of their lines. In addition to that, their legs are just so small. These figures always had a brittle feel to them. I know these Series 1 figures were eventually re-released and they didn't have pinholes, but I never got the re-release version. The original one was pretty rough quality. They did improve after that, and some of their later figures were really fantastic quality, but it was a pretty rocky start. And then, here's the figure broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. I also wanted to point out that his head can't come off with complete ease. You don't have to heat him up or anything. It's probably because they used some of the previous molds that had swappable parts. Now let's take a look at his accessories, and let's start off with his hands. He has a total of 9 hands, 5 right hands and 4 left hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. Then his second pair of hands. These can hold something kind of small. They look like they're for the batarang. And here's his third pair of hands. These look like they could potentially hold something small, but look like they're supposed to be more or less relaxed at his sides. Now he has these larger gripping hands. These should accommodate his grapnel launcher. And he's got one additional right hand. This is a hand with his grapnel launcher permanently attached, which I think is kind of an odd decision. They have one hand with it permanently attached, and then a gripping hand where you can put it in there. Seems a little unnecessary to double dip. Now let's take a look at his batarang. It's made of hard plastic. It's pretty small. Here's Batman holding and getting ready to throw his batarang. Now let's look at his grapnel launcher. This is also made of hard plastic, very basic looking. They actually made it so he can't properly hold his grapnel launcher. The gripping hand I thought would accommodate it, just doesn't fit. Here it is in his sort of relaxed hand. It's about the best you're going to get. Now I understand why they included that swappable hand. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. And I really wish these figures were just a little bit bigger. From bottom to top of his head, he's standing at about 6.1 inches tall, which is going to translate to about 15.5 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, about 6.25 inches tall. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here. Of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up that far, down that far. Pretty nice. You can see the gap at certain positions. You can tilt his head from one side to the other. Ball joint, ton of range of motion there. Shoulders on a ball joint only really goes out about this far. Definitely disappointing. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. Single jointed elbow. Goes in about that far. Out completely straight. Does have a rotation. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Torso's one solid piece. He's got traditional waist swivel below that. Legs completely does splits. Then go forward about that far. Back even more than it goes forward. Single jointed knees. Doesn't feel like there's rotation there. Then his ankles here go forward and back. There is a nice tilted rocker joint there. And I failed to mention he's got a boot cut right above that. Here's Batman in the Batcave, working in his lab. Here's Batman in the Batcave at the Batcomputer with Alfred serving him tea. Here's Batman and his sidekicks from the new Batman Adventures, Nightwing, Robin, and Batgirl. Here's Batman using his grapnel to launch off a rooftop. And here he is, holding his batarang. Now let's check him out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some other DC Direct, the new Batman Adventures figures. Here he is, next to the original DC Direct, the new Batman Adventures Batman. This was the very first figure to kick off the line. This new Batman is the 59th figure. There were a lot of quality control issues with the original release. Both my ankles broke. My Catwin broke as well. He had these pinholes around his legs. There was a later re-release with better quality plastic and no pinholes, but I never got that one. These two figures are the exact same body from what I can tell, just a different cape. Head might be different on the new one. Here's Batman, next to the sidekicks from the new Batman Adventures. These were made by DC Direct and DC Collectibles years ago. Nightwing, Robin, and Batgirl. Then, next to Robin and Batgirl from Batman the Animated Series. Here are all the villains from Batman the Animated Series. They look absolutely fantastic together. And then, all the villains from the new Batman Adventures. They also look great as a group. Here's this new Batman, next to the first series of Batman the Adventures Continue figures. We had Batman the Animated Series Batman, Red Hood, Azrael, and Harley Quinn. Batman and Harley Quinn were cel-shaded. Then, next to the second assortment of Batman the Adventures Continue figures, Joker, Armored Batman, Deathstroke, and Robin. Batman the Adventures Continue is a canon comic continuation of Batman the Animated Series. I do own them, but I haven't read them. I imagine Deathstroke, and I know Armored Batman was in there. And so far, This Batman is the only one I have from the third assortment. The third assortment was released by McFarlane's Toys. It includes the New Adventures Batman, the Batman Who Laughs, and a Catwoman with a Selina Kyle unmasked head. Now, there was a fourth wave revealed a long time ago, and McFarlane has not officially said they're making them. Probably depends on the sales on these guys. But that wave consisted of the new Batman Adventures, Robin and Batgirl, Vampire Batman, and Talon. I do hope they get those out as well. And you know what? Maybe they'll give us that different variation of the Christmas Joker. Now let's check out the evolution of Batman through the cartoons via action figures. Here's this new Batman next to the Batman the Animated Series Batman. And that Batman's body did get an overhaul at one point. Then we have the original, the new Batman Adventures Batman, and moving on to the Justice League Batman. And now, here he is with the Batman Beyond Batman. Here's this Batman next to the Batmobile from Batman the Animated Series. This is not the correct Batmobile for this Batman, as they never made the new Batman Adventures Batmobile, but they still look really cool next to each other. And the best way to put this Batman into this car is to pop his head off, remove the cape, pop his head back on, and put the Batman in here. Fits in the car, very nice. Here's the DC Direct, the new Batman Adventures Batman. Next to the Mafex, the new Batman Adventures Batman. I would say the Mafex is a superior figure in almost every way, although it's quite a bit pricier. And here he is, next to McFarlane's DC Multiverse Behemoth version of sort of a Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures hybrid. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a DC Direct Batman the Animated figure, they're typically the 6-inch scale, on the smaller end of what I collect. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the smaller action figure lines I collect, and work my way larger, and I'm going to include as many Batman figures as I can during these comparisons. Here he is, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures, and here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts Batman figures, then with some Hasbro Marvel Legends, and here he is, with some Mafex Batman figures, then next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures, and here he is, next to some Mezco 112 Collective Batman figures, and now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestling figures, then next to some Mattel wrestling figures, and here, with some NECA Batman figures, then next to some of his DC Direct and DC Collectibles brothers. Typically, DC Direct figures are 7-inch scale, but their animated stuff is 6-inch scale. A little disappointed it doesn't match the rest, but I still like it. And here he is, next to some McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman figures, then next to some DST or Diamond Select toys, and finally, here he is, next to some Jakks Pacific wrestling figures. Overall, it's an okay figure. I personally prefer the non-cel shaded version, the regular version. Now there are a lot of issues I have with this figure. It's going to be the height, the skinny legs, the clunky articulation. I don't like the cape very much, especially the front of it, how it's not even. His accessories, they're pretty nice. Sculpt and paint job, no issues with the paint job. Sculpt, it's good, just not great. Articulation is definitely limited. If I were to rate this figure, I'm probably going to give him a 6 out of 10. Yes, he seems a lot more durable than the original release, but I don't really like all the extra shading on him. Looking forward to checking out The Man Who Laughs and Catwoman, and I really hope these sell good and they release that last wave. I want to get that Talon figure especially. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.